Good morning. You know, it's been said that our spiritual life is a journey. And when I think of journey, I think of a road, right? And one of the things that helps me understand this a little clearer is when you think about on a road, not everyone on that road is at the same location. Some will be a little further back, some will be somewhere in the middle, and there are some that will be further along ahead in the journey, correct? Even in our desire to want to know where God is leading us, we can rest assured knowing that where we are right now, God knows where we're at, and whether we're on the right track, He can continue to guide us. If we've lost our way a little bit, He can recalibrate us and get us back on track. And so today, we get a chance to speak to one of our dear brothers who works and serves within the Society of the Divine Word. My name is Andrew Dixon, and welcome to Christ Over Coffee. Good morning, Sister Rosalia. How are you this morning?
Good morning to you all, my friends in the audience, and welcome back to another episode of Christ Over Coffee. The topic for today will be dealing with vocation also, but in a most special way, shared by a very special person. You will be surprised by his sharing on working very much behind the scene by connecting and communicating with those who are searching for a way of deeper religious dedication. For more information about our special guest today, I will let Andrew introduce him to us.
And so, as promised, we have Mr. Len Uhal. He is the National Vocation Director for the Society of the Divine Word and also the Vice President for Admissions at Divine Word College in Epworth, Iowa. Thank you so much, Mr. Uhal, for joining us this morning and carving out a little time in your busy schedule to share with us the goodness of what God is doing in your life. My question for you today, I have 4 of them. So we're going to split this up into 2 interviews. So 2 questions today and the following 2 questions next week. But we're going to conduct it right here, right now. And I'm excited, so excited. So question number 1. I personally believe every creation has a genesis. This starting off point is often referred to as the fork in the road. We can either go left or right, but there is a decision to be made nonetheless. How did your journey of becoming involved in vocations begin?
Hey Andrew, how are you? So my journey of vocation ministry, it's interesting. It has many different roots, I think, but it starts off with the fact that I was in formation with the Divine Word Missionaries for 8 years. So that was back in the day when we had a high school seminary. So I spent 4 years at Divine Word Seminary in East Troy, Wisconsin. And then I also spent 4 years at Divine Word College, our college seminary in Epworth, Iowa. So I was in formation for 8 years myself as a seminarian, studying to become a Divine Word missionary. Long story short, I left formation, and in 1990 I got married. But the roots of how I got into vocation ministry actually start back when I was in formation, primarily here at the college seminary in Iowa. I had 2 summer jobs after my freshman and sophomore year of college, working in vocation ministry at the seminary in East Troy. So for the summers of 1984 and 1985, I would go out and visit about 30 students that were in elementary school, so like 6th graders and 7th graders, and I would share with them about my story about being in formation and my vocation, and how being in the seminary was helping me figure out God's call in my life, and encourage them to consider entering the seminary for high school at East Troy, Wisconsin. So I did that for a couple different summers, and even here at Divine Word College during my time as a student in the 80s, I would welcome some of the visitors and guests, and kind of worked in the vocation office a little bit here as part of my work study program when I was in college. But more recently then, I was working in another career, and the Divine Word Missionaries asked me to come and work for them as the alumni director, and I served here at Divine Word College in that capacity for several years. But during that time, the vocation office asked me to also help them with vocation ministry. So for a couple of years, I was doing what I call cold calling. So oftentimes names come to the vocation office of, here's a person who may be interested in a religious vocation. And it takes a lot of time to try to call folks and reach them. And so the vocation director at the time asked me if I would help, make some cold calls, call these folks, find out, answer their questions, and find out if they were seriously interested, and if they were a positive lead of a potential candidate for our congregation. I would forward the names then to the vocation team, and the vocation director would follow up. So I did that for a few years, but my ministry really began to take off in 2003 when the Divine Word Missionaries asked me to serve as the National Vocation Director for the United States. So Divine Word Missionaries has 3 provinces in the United States: the Chicago province, Southern province, and Western province. And at the time, the provincials asked me to take over the vocation office. So I'm the first layperson to have this position and lead the vocation office efforts and the vocation team here in the United States for the SVD. And it's been a blessing, and it's been an honor, and it's been a humbling experience to be able to walk with many men in their discernment journey.
Thank you so much for being open and honest with that share. Did you ever feel God nudging you towards your current ministry? If so, how did you respond?
Sure. Yes, thanks, Andrew, for the question about God's presence in my life and nudging me towards vocation ministry. Most definitely, God's been present in my life for a very long time, and sometimes I don't always recognize God's presence, but I had an interest in vocation work early, as I said before. Even in college level seminary, I was interested in vocation work, and thought maybe if I become a priest someday, I'd really like to do vocation work. I think God had already put that plan into motion in my life, and I'm just fascinated by the ministry. I mean, there's other great ministries, pastoral ministry at a parish, or ministry in teaching, or ministry in prison ministry, or whatever. Lots of different pastoral ministries. But vocation ministry, this whole idea of building relationships with people and getting to know how they feel about God's plan in their life. Where is God calling them? Where do they find meaning? What excites them? What motivates them in searching out of God's plan and work in their lives? So I find a lot of value in building those relationships. The purpose, the idea of just calling young men, and I think this is a role as a lay vocation director. I think it's our duty to call forth leaders from the pews, from our own ranks of lay people, to become priests, brothers and sisters, and ordained deacons. Sometimes I think we believe that sisters and priests and brothers, they have to replenish their own ranks. They have to call forth those leaders themselves. But as lay people, I think we're challenged. Who among us has those leadership qualities? And as lay people, we can call them forth as leaders. And so that whole idea of inviting young people, and maybe not so young, because sometimes people don't find out till they're in their 30s or 40s that God's calling them to be a sister or a priest or brother, So even later, belated vocations, as we call them, how do we as lay people in the pews help our friends in the pews and other people to understand God's plan for them? And so that whole idea of the purpose and value, As a side note, too, I think the whole idea of travel, vocation directors are on the road a lot, and I love to travel. So just from a fun, practical standpoint, vocation ministry always appealed to me. I would see the vocation directors go out when I was in formation, and they'd go here and they'd go there, and they'd be gone for a week or 10 days or 3 weeks, and they'd come back with these great stories, and that always inspired me. So I think in those early years, yes, God was present, nudging me and saying to me, I think, vocation ministry is a good idea. And then as I shared with you, I left formation and I got married, but my connection with the Divine Word Missionaries never faded. When my wife and I got married, the Divine Word Missionary priest presided at our wedding. 2 of our 3 children were baptized by Divine Word Missionary priests. A religious brother, SVD brother, read one of the readings at our mass, our wedding mass. I have always been, and my wife has always been connected with the Divine Word Missionaries. So even during those, I graduated in 1987. I started working for the Divine Word Missionaries in 99, so that's 12 years. During those 12 years, even though I was out in another career, I was doing counseling as a substance abuse counselor and licensed social worker. I was still very connected to the mission, to the charism, to the spirituality of the Divine Word Missionaries, which is why I think in 1999, they offered me a position to come and work with the alumni. And then from that position, it grew into vocation ministry. Again, God seeing the gifts, the talents, the skills that I had, God seeing the needs of the Divine Word Missionary and of our congregation, and matched us together. And I just think that's all by God's plan and design. And I feel blessed and fortunate to be a part of the missionary ministry of the Society of the Divine Word. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Uhal, for joining us this morning. If you feel like God is calling you to religious life, we want you to give us a call today at 847-441-0126. Also, we encourage you to visit our website as well to get a little information about the Holy Spirit Missionary Sisters. And you can find us at www.SSpS-USA.org. Before you leave today, we want you to also know that we are on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And you can find us at these various locations down below me. All we ask is that you would like, comment, and share the encouragement that we place on our social media platforms. You never know when someone needs an uplifting word. Thank you again for joining us this morning. And remember, until next time, we're going to be walking this life one sip at a time. Thank you all so much for joining us. May God bless you and your families. Take care, and may you have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.